Welcome back, my friends. I have a tale to tell before the tavern closes tonight. I have come a very long way and seen so many places. I've heard many stories, and I am happy to be here now to share them with you. So, gather round. Last we met, I promised to tell you the tales of 3 bandits, none of whom know one another, but their stories, when compared, paint an interesting vista that I believe could be of value to each of us. We will start in the east, in the densely forested nation of Zirwoot. You see, Zirwoot is divided into several duchies, and the Duke of Verdfor is a cruel and brutal man. He is known for forcing his people to enlist in the yearly crusades against the demons across the sea, and whilst they're gone, he steals their belongings and burns their homes. He sells their children into serfdom and slavery around the east. Many families have been ruined by the Duke's greed. The peasants wish to revolt, but his forces are strong and numerous. Stolen gold can buy a lot of loyalty. Our story begins as a ship rolls into harbor. Lynn of Zirwoot was conscripted to fight against the darkness and returned alive, exhausted. She wandered the streets of Castile Verdfor, her home before she was forced to face monsters across the sea. She wondered how tall her daughter had grown, how wise the young girl had become in the care of the aristocracy. She approached the door of what was once her home, but found it decorated differently. Inside, a new family sat, not Lynn's family. In the center of the city, a festival was being held, as it is every year when the warriors return from fighting demons on the dead continent. Lynn didn't have time to think. She ran through the streets, tears streaming down her face, teeth gritted, face caked in the dirt of the land she had returned from. She saw the Duke, drunk and laughing, entertaining some other nobles at his high table. She dove across it, tackling the man, grabbing a knife from the table and raising it to stab the noble man in the throat. Her outburst wasn't unnoticed, and the haft of a polearm slammed into the back of her head, knocking her unconscious. When she awoke, her wrists were bound. She was knelt on the bank of the river. She could hear soldiers behind her, deciding if they were going to kill her with their weapons or the rushing water. Her head was pounding, but as she awoke, she noticed the rage hadn't gone away. She promised her daughter they would see each other again. She stumbled to her feet, turning to face the soldiers. When they noticed their victim had awoken, they scrambled for their weapons. She rushed towards one man. Though her wrists were bound, it was easy to force him into the ground with her shoulder and then finish him off with a kick. Another soldier reached for their sword, but they were too late. Lynn slid, shoulder first, into their stomach, then stood up, throwing them over her head. The last soldier knocked an arrow and let it loose. Be it by little magic or raw luck, Lynn turned at just the perfect angle for the arrowhead to tear the rope binding her wrist. Moments later, and it was over. Lynn inspected the weapons and armor of the soldiers ordered to slay her, stealing a sword, some chainmail, the bow and its arrows. The bow was incredibly heavy, a string weight of nearly 11 stone. The arrows were well crafted, with steel tips and black fletching. With that, she absconded into the woods, plotting to kill the Duke and find her daughter safe. Days into her new journey, she came across a village. The Duke's soldiers had been sent to raid the town. Seemingly they had been late on their taxes. Again, Lynn's fury didn't allow her to ponder her tactics. She nocked an arrow and aimed it rapidly. Lynn had been a hunter when they sent her to fight the demons, and her skill with the bow had only grown since. One soldier down. She nocked and aimed. 2 soldiers down. In minutes she had felled 7 of the Duke's men, never missing a shot. The townspeople thanked her. They fed her. When she left with a large man at her side by the name of Philip, and a loathsome bard named Cerule. As time crawled onward, her band grew. They built a town hidden within the trees to call their base. Linfort has become a thriving city of bandit freedom fighters, appearing from the trees to combat the Duke's tyranny wherever he may strike. Lynn still holds the rage. Her heart still hopes to find her daughter safe. In her time as the bandit queen of Zirwood, Lynn has killed 283 soldiers. Though she is known to offer mercy whenever it be an option, she is a tactician, a soldier. Every battle ends with finding the people the Duke most recently robbed to return their belongings. The town only survives because so many members of the peasantry have offered their services. They would rather willingly give what they can to Lynn than have all they own ripped away by the Duke. Lynn told me herself that she has many regrets, and she often feels shame in the violence. The things she has to do in the name of freedom can be far more brutal than she would hope. Still, she persists. Our next brigand for the evening was born on the Isle of Shaley. The rainy isle can be a brutal place to live. The king is lost to his greed and hatred of the druids who call the island home. The druids are wild magicians who keep to their own ancient laws and customs. Our story begins with a giant clan dwarf named Robert. Robert had always been a thief, raised picking pockets in the streets of Logres, aging into an adult as a bandit, watching the roads into the hill lands for merchants to rob of any pennies they had. Robert never had any care for mercy, nor manners, nor laws. He is a big man who knows how to fight, and for him that is survival. One day, him and his clan watched as a merchant caravan traveled along the main road towards Logres. It seemed like an easy score. Robert and his allies intercepted the carts, demanding the merchants surrender their gold and any valuable goods. But these merchants had been prepared for this. From the brush, mercenaries began to rush towards the bandits. Robert and his people fought back, but these mercenaries were gifted soldiers. It was brutal. Robert only managed to fell 2 of his enemies before a spear sunk into his back. He tried to get back to his feet, but he was beaten, stabbed, kicked, and bludgeoned, until the large man's frame fell limp. Weeks later, Robert awoke to the sound of drums. Druids had found him and dragged the 21-hand-tall, 19-stone man through the hill lands to their village. They had nursed him back to health, healed his wounds, even mended his clothes. He stayed with them for a season in the green hills under the endless rain. They taught him their story. Robert grew to love these people, their culture, their history, their elemental magics. They were a peaceful people, swearing to never use the gift of magic to harm any of those who call our world their home, only to heal, to survive. One day, the king's men came and captured the druids. They begged Robert to run, and he did. They preferred he flee rather than harm someone who meant to kill them. In the hills, Robert's heart broke. He was a coward, a thieving brigand fool, who could not even muster the strength to fight when people who had shown him kindness were in danger. He knew it would have displeased the druids had he fought, but he also believed that allowing them to die would be equally displeasing. Days passed, and he watched from the hills as the soldiers built pyres in the center of a nearby town to burn the druids upon. As he picked grass and watched in silence, a thought occurred to him. Though he owes them much, Robert is no druid. He has sworn no oath, he has no magic, and he is not of their ancient culture. He is Shale, So Robert made a choice. The next morning, before anyone awoke, he wandered to the center of town. He sunk his sword into the dirt and began to wait. When the soldiers emerged, they saw the giant. They saw his blade. This is a traditional invitation to a duel in Shaley, and no warrior can pass it up. One by one, he slaughtered them, ignoring the cried protests of the druids he was there to save. With each soldier slain, he would sink his sword into the dirt again. After 4 straight days of fighting, no sleep, no food, Robert had killed every soldier in town. He freed the druids who ran east to the other end of the island. None thanked him, as he had broken their tenets, but there was a silent acknowledgement of gratitude from some. Robert stood in the road, guarding the route east, sword sunk into the dirt, fighting, killing, protecting the region the druids now call home. He was given the title of King of the Hill Lands, and as time went on, more and more people came to join him. His penance for a life of brutality became to fight for those who couldn't. There is a castle where Robert once stood, and a throne where he now sits, guardian of the druids, bandit king of the East. Our last bandit for the night is far less noble than the other 2 we have spoken of. Deep in the swamps of the south, in a region known as the Darkwater, a nation known as Jochacalan sits hidden by the dark trees. The torrential rain is hot and relentless, and around every corner thieves lie in wait. The nation has no exports they can use to make coin, at least not any they can produce at a grand scale. Mostly magical herbs and the like, but those hide in the mangrove and vines. The nation makes its coin by offering its ports to other kingdoms, but that does not feed its people. Hector the Wretched was once Hector the Miller's son. What food they could grow is kept in country, and the swamp folk are known for baking extraordinarily good bread. It all started at Hector's mill. Day in, day out, he would mill grain. But the coin was never enough for Hector. He could rarely pay his taxes, and his back ached from the work. Soon enough, discontented and tired, Hector went to a nearby tavern to drown his sorrows in southern Mishishka and lager. He spent every coin to his name in the tavern that night. When the money ran out and the bottles ran dry, he wandered into the street. There he saw a drunk nobleman relieving himself on the wall. Hector's drunken mind began to realize something. He is not poor because of his work. He is poor because of noblemen such as this. He is not suffering because he is a miller. He is suffering because the nobility does not rise for him. So he bludgeoned the nobleman to death. When the fury subsided and the rational mind awoke, he realized what had to be done. Not feeling remorse, but knowing the consequences would be steep, Hector fled into the swamps. It's not hard to build a bandit faction in a land of 1,000 thieves, so build one he did. It took them years to build their little fort hidden in the mangrove, but once it was constructed, the real work began. Hector exacts his vengeance on any who are near, rich or poor, old or young. They have gained his ire. He makes more as a bandit fighting for himself than he ever did, empathizing with his common man. He tells himself that because they do not do what he has done, they do not want a better life. They are enemies of progress. Hector's clan is large, and their crimes are impossible to count. Some see him as a hero, but many more see him as a scared bully playing tyrant, a man who hides behind principles to abuse others and get what he wants. These 3 tales are all about the same kind of person, if you ask the guard. They are bandits, disturbers of the peace, killers. I do not agree. I think if you look at these stories, a pattern becomes clear. A criminal is not born with an interest in disrupting the peace. A mother is taken from her child. A warrior sees injustice before him. A normal man becomes weary of the stress. Our world is a hard one, and in the suffering, in the pain, we become what we must. Some so-called bandits retain their humanity, their empathy, and turn their gaze on the leaders who have failed them. Others simply break and allow the anger to target whomever passes. I am not telling you to forgive the wrongs done to you, or to bow to criminal behavior as justified. I am simply telling you that judgment can be premature, the truth can be muddy, and the line between criminal and freedom fighter is drawn by those with coin. Next we meet, I wish to continue telling you of the War of Sorrows, a young warrior who was brave enough to face the Lord of Sorrows head-on and the trials and tribulations they faced when they decided to confront a being of endless pain. Until then, I thank you all for being here tonight as always. I have a tome of tales from every nation to share with you all. I have seen many monsters, many heroes. I have learned of the magic offered by the gods and the magic humans can conjure for themselves. I have seen warfare, and I have tales of peace. I cannot wait to tell them all to you. Good night, and thank you. Legends of Lorelei is an immersive, fantasy fiction audio drama produced by Livewire Stories. This show is written and produced by Gwen Fullman. The music you heard in this episode was composed and performed by Gwen Fullman. The Bard is played by Gwen Fullman. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please consider subscribing to our Patreon at Livewire Multimedia Stories to receive episodes a week early for only $2 a month. You will also receive updates on our projects, like the tabletop role-playing games or short films we've been working on. Check out our website at livewiretabletop.wixsite.com/livewire. Subscribe to us on YouTube, or join our Discord server in the description below. The best way you can support us is to show this to a friend. Thank you. And a special thank you to our Patreon supporters, without whom this wouldn't be possible.